So I'm just after finishing The Walking Dead World Beyond Season 1 Episode 3 titled The Tigers and the Lamb. If you have not seen this episode, I'm going to be getting into full spoilers throughout this review, so if you haven't seen the episode and you don't want to get anything spoiled for you, do not watch this review. So this episode picks up right where we left off with episode 2. Hope has gone out. Last week I didn't know if she was leaving them or what, but she was actually going out to follow through what Elton's plan was to kind of, someone goes on the roof, they silence the alarm, and then all the walkers go there and the rest of our group is able to leave that area. So Hope decides she's going to be the one to go ahead and do that. So once she does that, their characters, everyone wakes up, they're like, where's she gone, where's she gone? They're saying, no, you need to come back. Like, they're kind of acting the way you would expect them to act, because this is pretty much the start of the apocalypse for them, because they've never been out there. They act the way you expect them to act. But then Hope makes her way over to the building. Our characters make their way over to the building that Hope was in. And then we kind of get the reuniting of our main characters. They get reunited with Felix and Hooks. And for some reason, they're inside that building. So they would have walked through all the walkers, walked past our group, and ended up there. I don't know how they ended up there to begin with, but for some reason they were there. And I kind of thought I was expecting to reunite with them soon, but I just kind of felt like, oh, okay, you guys are here now. I kind of felt like them actually catching up to our group. I kind of felt that was a bit rushed. But then again, I was happy to see them reunite because I am a fan of Felix. As I've said in my review for last week, he's my favourite character at the moment. Hooks, I'm still not too much of a fan of, but it was just nice to see Felix with our group again. But then Hope says on the walkie-talkie the actual alarm has broken and she's taken it apart and she cannot remember how to put it back together. I like that scene because I work on machines a lot. Well, actually, I work on machines all day, and there's been times where something's not been right, so I've taken it apart, and then once I take it apart, I'm like, shit, which part goes where? And that's happened to me, and I just thought that was funny to see it actually happen to someone in this scenario. But she gets put back together, she silences the alarms, they managed to get out, she's making her way out, and this is just something quite stupid where she jumps from the ladder on this third or fourth, and instead of just making her way down the ladder, she lands on her ankle. Her ankle goes wonky, which I just thought was just something stupid that was so unnecessary. They only did it to add a little bit more tension in there, but she does make it out there. She has a little bit of a scare towards the end of midway through the episode. She gets a little scared, but then Iris comes out, she saves her, kills one of the walkers, and then the other walker falls in Iris because she takes too long to kill the first one, and then Hope kills the other one. Then they both have their first walker kills. But that's kind of the main subplot for our main group. They decide they are going to continue on, making their way to their father. Felix and Hook are going to both join them. But nothing really happens in this episode. Like, look at that now. I'm coming up to 3 minutes talking about this episode, and that is all that happens with our group. Something cool happens at the end, which I'm going to talk about later, but honestly, absolutely nothing happened in this episode. This is a limited series. I felt like when I heard the limited series, when I heard they only had 2 seasons, I thought this show was going to be so quick paced. I was expecting so much to happen at such a massive amount of times. We are almost halfway through the first season. We are almost a quarter of the way through the entire series, and honestly nothing has happened. We finally got our first walker killed. We're getting information and little tidbits about what happened with Silas. I'm imagining someone killed his grandparents, or his grandparents were about to die or something. He's killed someone. I don't think it was his grandparents he killed, just because the fact that his uncle is still kind of happy with him. I'm assuming someone killed his grandparents and then out of anger he killed them or something like that. But people say he should have been arrested. I don't know what happened with Silas, but I am intrigued to see. At one stage he actually holds up about 40 tires, and I was like, geez, he's like the fucking Hulk, because this guy is a strong guy. I am really intrigued to see what actually happened with him, because I'm very interested to see what his story at the moment. Like, you got Hope, you got Iris. I like Hope, I do, but I just cannot get involved in their story. I just think it's too much drama. Elton himself, I'm waiting for him to find out the reveal that Hope was actually the one to have killed his mother. I don't know how that's going to come up organically, but now Iris knows that information. It's going to come up eventually, but I don't know how it's going to come up. But honestly, Silas is probably the best out of the 4 of them at the moment for me personally, just for the fact that he's got so much mystery building up. I want to see what his character is. I want to see what actually happened to make him be as much of an outcast that he is, because he's listening on his tapes. I was assuming it was music. It's actually a message that his nana and granddad had left to him. I do want to hear a bit of backstory. I'm assuming, as I said, I think someone killed his grandparents out of anger. He killed them, because I cannot see him have killed his grandparents unless it was a scenario where his grandparents got bit and he had to kill them before they turned because they asked him to do that, or maybe they turned and he killed them and then the government or whoever he was didn't like how he ended up killing them. Maybe instead of calling for help and getting it done properly, he actually killed them himself. And people will think, because the way this kind of community works, they think, okay, he really shouldn't have done that. But who honestly knows? That's just how I'm kind of imagining it would have went. But the thing at the end that was pretty cool, we actually get to see Elizabeth Kublick. We get to see her again. We get to see her in her apartment, and one of the soldiers from the first episode has come back and he says what they did wasn't right. Those people were not a threat, and then Elizabeth says they were going to be a threat. And then she starts giving a rant. Well, not a rant. She gives a speech and says, we have all this. They actually have a currency, which I think is quite impressive. So they still kind of... I wonder if it's the American dollar or if it's something new they have created. But we see that they still are manufacturing bullets, which makes complete sense. They have the CRM logo. She gives a big list of stuff they are able to do during all this. We actually get to reveal that it's 20,000 people in that community, which is quite impressive, because if I remember correctly, the Commonwealth is 50,000 if I remember right. And when I heard that, when they killed the 9,000 members of the campus community, I figured, okay, this their community must be massive if they're willing to just kill 9,000 people. And to find out they're actually 20,000 or 200,000, I was like, okay, pretty big, massive community. It looks like they actually take up an entire city. She's got an apartment. As she was talking to him, she turns on all the electricity, showing that they are able to waste all this. Like, she turns the fire on, the fan above her head, the TV, a blender, so much she turns on just to show, like, we've got electricity that I can just burn. They're ending up drinking soup. The guy's disagreeing, saying, no, what we did wasn't right. And she goes, no, we had to do it because they're a threat. She then ends up calling guards in there. This is our first proper look of actually looking at the CRM logos, or the actual soldiers. We got to see them in episode 1, but we barely got to see them as well. In Fear the Walking Dead season 5, we got to see that character, I'm blanking on her name at the moment. We got to see her in the suit, but this is our first proper look, like literally just looking at them. And their helmets are god awful. It just, their suits itself, just the whole uniform I'm not really a fan of. The suits itself look fine, but the helmet is just, it doesn't really work. The helmet, it does not go. It just makes them look like bobbleheads, if anything. But they take him away because he disagrees with the CRM. They're going to put him in a mental asylum until he agrees what they did was right. And then once he agrees, they're going to bring him out, and then he's going to be kind of doing slave labor rather than having the job he has done. And I imagine that's what Rick Grimes is going through now. I wouldn't be surprised if he was in a mental asylum right now because he disagreed with what the CRM does. And that's how I imagine Rick's going to be. I don't imagine Rick's going to be a soldier, but all the suspense of the doors knocking, I was like, imagine Andrew Lincoln walked out as Rick. Imagine this was our post-Walking Dead Season 9 Rick Grimes. That would have been quite cool, but then I don't think they would be able to do that. But I was thinking, imagine if Rick was one of those soldiers. I just thought that'd be pretty cool. But so I imagine Rick is probably in one of those mental institutions. But for all this whole episode, though, honestly, nothing really happened. That last, I think it was 6 minutes of Elizabeth Kubrick was the best part of the episode. I think she, overall, is the best, most intriguing character. I like Felix, I like Silas, but Elizabeth Kubrick, who actually cries at the end because she knows what they did was wrong. But I just really am intrigued with her character. It's not just her character itself. The whole CRM, this is the reason I am watching the show. I don't care about these other characters. I like them, but I don't really care for them. But the CRM, I'm just so intrigued to see what happens with them. Because they have Rick Grimes. Honestly, if they didn't have Rick, if we had no connection between The Walking Dead and these, I would not be as intrigued. But now, as I'm watching this, like in episode 1, I was thinking, okay, I'm scared for Rick. Now I'm thinking he could be in a mental asylum. So I'm just so intrigued to see with the CRM, seeing where Rick Grimes is. That is the reason I'm watching this show, and it's still the reason. In episode 1, in episode 2, my review for those two, I was saying the reason I'm watching this show is to see what happens with Rick Grimes. I'm not intrigued any other way, and my opinion still stands on that. I'm still not devoted into this TV show. I'm still not intrigued, and I don't want to watch it because of this TV show. I'm watching it to see what happens with Rick Grimes, to get the setup for the movies, and the fact that this is a Walking Dead show. Other than that, I am not intrigued in this show. You got Fear the Walking Dead. Like I see, I got a season 5 poster behind me showing I am a fan of that show, and I'm just a fan of that show just because I enjoy that show. Morgan didn't come in till season 4, and I was watching it since day one of Fear the Walking Dead. That dropped in 2015, and I remember the first day that dropped, I watched episode 1. I've been watching every episode of Fear the Walking Dead ever since it aired because I'm a fan of that TV show. Even when like season 5 ended, they had that fake out there, I was annoyed. Obviously I was going to continue watching it, but I was just so annoyed, but I still wanted to watch it. But World Beyond, I am only watching this because it's the Walking Dead TV series. Nothing about this show I am intrigued for, just to see what's going to happen with Rick. And if that's the only reason I'm watching this show, I'm going to say it's a failure. This is episode 3, and I still don't want to continue watching it. The only reason I want to continue watching it is for the Rick Grimes stuff. If that was, it's like, honestly, if Rick wasn't there, I would have stopped this show. I probably would have waited till the end of season 1, or even the end of season 2 to watch this, because week to week for this show is just really, really disappointing. It leaves you wanting more, and not even more from our characters, more from the CRM, and I'm not a fan of this show. I really don't like the melodrama. I don't like Iris. I keep saying her every review, but I'm really not a fan of the character of Iris. Even Hope in this episode, I'm not really liking Hope as much as I did in episode 1. I liked her in episode 1. Episode 2, I was like, oh yeah, she's okay. Episode 3, I don't really like her as much anymore. Elton is just a mystery. I don't know if I like Elton. He's kind of all over the place. Silas, as I said, I'm intrigued with his character. I want to see where he goes. And Felix, I just think he's a likable guy. Hook as well, don't really like him. But so, honestly, if it wasn't for the CRM stuff, I would not be watching The Walking Dead World Beyond. I probably would have stopped it by episode 2. But let me know your thoughts on The Walking Dead World Beyond episode 3 in the comments section down below. Did you love it? Do you disagree with me? Do you think I'm just being dramatic and the show is actually great? Or do you agree with me and the show is pretty bad? Anyways, if you want to hear my thoughts on episode 4, which would be next Friday, which is going to be a chore to watch that one as well. If you want to hear my thoughts on that one, fingers crossed it will be better than episode 1, 2 and 3. Anyways, my thoughts with that will be on next Saturday. My review for episode 2 of Fear the Walking Dead being Monday, which I'm really excited to watch episode 2 because episode 1 was a fantastic season premiere for the Fear the Walking Dead. I cannot wait to see what they do with episode 2. So if you want to hear my thoughts on that as well, that'll be dropping Monday. And as always, thanks for watching.